because it wasn't easy. I got rejected a lot early on and I wasn't ready. Now I know that as I grew up, but in the moment you get frustrated. You're like, I deserve this. I should be there. And I would jump companies thinking that if I just went somewhere else, I'd get the opportunity. Turns out you don't.
Landing a great job opportunity is sometimes very challenging. Breaking into tech and getting hired as a sales rep can be even harder. When I was applying to my first sales jobs, I also struggled with the unknown, what to expect, what the tech industry was like, and how do I break in? After years of being an SDR myself, I've decided to build something I wish I had in the beginning. My name is Stefan, and in the SDR Hire podcast, I interview successful SDRs and salespeople who share their stories straight from the trenches. Learn how they got their first job offers, how they succeed every day in their roles, and what makes them stand out in their organizations. We all have what it takes. We just need someone to remind us of the opportunity and give us a better chance for success. Let's get your next SDR gig. Hey, welcome back to the SDR Hire podcast. I'm your host, Stefan, and this is a place where you can learn from top producing salespeople what it's like working in tech sales, how do you break in, what do companies look for, and how to succeed as an SDR, all for free. Today's episode, however, is totally different from anything we've had on the podcast so far. Even though the main premise of the show is to talk to SDRs and AEs, so the people who are actually in the trenches doing the work, I've decided to interview someone who is a bit more senior. Our guest for the day is Tom Slocum. Tom is a veteran sales pro, someone who started out as an SDR more than 7 years ago, and since then has built numerous SDR teams, mentored an unknown number of sales reps, and is advising several leading tech companies on how to run their strategic and sales programs. He was a part of a very famous sales community called Rev Genius, and just a few weeks ago, he started his own consulting business called the SD Labs. So let's dive right in. Tom, awesome to have you.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to chat, catch up with you, as well as, help those looking to break into tech sales, which, as we both know, is a phenomenal place to be. So thank you for having me.
For sure. It's a pleasure. It was really hard going through all that previous experience, to be honest, and kind of navigating through. So let's just start with the beginning. Like, how did you end up in tech sales? Was it by accident? Was it something you planned? Curious to know.
Yeah, it was honestly off of, a referral, a friend, right? Obviously, most of the time, people that tend to break in are doing through intros, doing through friends. And I kind of broke into the for-profit education space about 10 years ago, 12 years ago, off of a friend. I was selling solar water heaters out of a little hole in the wall business. And they were like, you don't belong here, right? You need to go somewhere else. And so they made an intro for me at a for-profit school. And that's how I started cold calling at a high level, 300 dial days, doing that type of process. And then about 8 years later, I dove into the space of sales development, right? And I broke into tech sales. And that came off of another referral, an intro. And that's when my career took off as the top of the funnel master, right? And getting into what I love now, which is sales development. So yeah, it was a lot of warm intros for me, upgrading my circle, networking, and then getting those folks to kind of give me that lending hand into, bypassing the application portals and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I think that's the name of the game today, especially, and that's often a topic in these episodes, which is, what strategy to apply to get hired as a sales rep. Some folks try to, blast as many applications as possible. That works. I mean, I've had a few people with those strategies. I've had people who have had very strict and specific strategies, like, pinpointing exact companies they want to work with, going after the people who work there, talking to them and getting to know the culture and the company. So it's very cool to hear another perspective, which is through warm referrals, which is also something we all love in sales, if I can say so.
That's what you just love anyway, right? That kind of starts your career off to a good start, because that referrals are a good thing. Back in the day, I was the application slammer, right? If I got let go or quit a job that day, the next thing I was doing was turning it into a full-time job, right? And 8 hours a day, I was hitting sites, I was hitting things, I was building out that resume. And sure, you're going to get a couple interviews out of that. You're going to get a couple things going. But to actually land the job, it was those that I applied to and then knew somebody on the inside. That's how I would get across, because a lot of those applications you were being weeded out, right? They're just screening. They've got AI in there that looks for stuff, and just the smallest thing could set you off. I've actually been denied by an application system, but still hired for the job. It does happen. I got flagged, I got denied. I knew the person on the inside and I still got the job, right? And they were like, we're so sorry. But had I not known somebody, I would have never gotten through, right? And that happens to a lot of folks on the regular. You're probably, you have to detach from those outcomes and not take them personal. And that's really hard in a job search, especially in tech sales. It's gritty, it's noisy, and every decline you take to heart because you don't know any better. You don't know. You think it is you, right? Maybe your background isn't right, this or that. But I will tell you, a good chunk of the time, it's just a system error. It has nothing, it's not a reflection on you. Go around those systems, start making friends with folks on the inside. And most companies do referral bonuses. So again, that person will help you because they get a little bit of a payback for referring you if you get the job. So that's another win for you and that person, because most of the time it's $1,000 referral, right? So they get the money, you get the job, and you can work your way around that system.
I love that. It goes to show that that power of networking, where you can basically literally build a path for yourself into that company, and everybody gets a win. So that's a very awesome way to think about it. Thanks for sharing that. I'm curious. When I was looking at your early background in sales, you you actually went on a path that is a bit different than people usually take in sales, which is you went for the manager role rather than the
Yeah.
account executive path. Was that also by design or by chance?
So that one was by design. My whole life, I wanted to be in that leadership place. I've always loved coaching. I've always loved helping and giving. So every job I was ever at, it was drilled into me. And I don't even know where this came from, but it was, rep to manager, always. I never saw any other path out of that. Like most folks think to go into closing roles or somewhere else. I literally just followed the company career path, and I was like, oh, obvious next step is you got to be a leader. I had no idea that wasn't a step or didn't have to be the step. So it was by design. And I have some articles out there. If you go follow me on LinkedIn, you can find it, where I share that story from that jump from rep to manager and how did I do it and what was it like? Because it wasn't easy. I got rejected a lot early on and I wasn't ready. And I knew, and now I know that as I grew up, but in the moment you get frustrated, you're like, I deserve this, I should be there. And I would jump companies thinking that if I just went somewhere else, I'd get the opportunity. Turns out you don't. Probably better to stick where you are and put in the work there than restart and go jump somewhere else, because it's usually not going to work out. And then, like 7 years ago, when I found the sales development space, that's where I got that blessing. And I got to build out a squad and have a real leadership position and really step into it. And I was ready. And I had learned to not be arrogant, egotistical, or my way or the highway type of leadership or copy my framework, right? I want to replicate me. It was more about coaching, mentoring, leading. And that's where I learned to be a practitioner, right? Keep doing my craft, because the best way to lead is by being in the trenches. That's what we talk about, right? Is I've been a VP of sales, I've been a manager, director, but I still will prospect. I'm still carrying that. I'm still in the trenches with the team. So it was by design, really rough patch in the beginning. And then I found my groove, and now here I am launching my own company, and now I'm a CEO, right? And a founder. And, I get to do that, but it was by design a little bit. It really wasn't by chance. I wanted that for a long time. And then I was able to find myself positioned to do that.
Love it, love it. So you were never tempted by, let's say, the promise of money as an account executive, for example. Like you always had this vision of just going to the leadership role.
Yeah, because I learned early on in my sales career that when there's more money, there's more responsibility, usually more often than not. And in a closing role, there are pressures that most people can't take. It is not as easy as most people think. It's also very hard to transition from an SDR to an AE because of the coaching and development and some org issues. that don't really set SDRs up for that transition. You got to kind of be your self-starter for that, and be wanting to close on your own, or find an org and culture that like will actually do career development and coaching and let you get your hands dirty. But for me, yeah, I mean, I was a full sales cycle AE. I ran deals at Yelp. I was closing deals at GoDaddy, right? I've done the closing experience, and I've had, up until 7 years ago, I only knew closing the deal myself. Everywhere I ever worked, I had to make even in for-profit school, I had to book the call and get the student through the first class, right? So I went through the full cycle. So when I found sales development and realized I could just focus on the top of the funnel, the meeting book side, and drive that revenue, I fell in love. I was like, this is where I want to be. This is just what I love to do. And I wasn't tempted by the money, because I knew, yeah, you could make some really good money as an AE, but you're constantly having to justify that value. And if you're making 200K OTE as an AE, you're probably looking at having to close 3x that to justify your value to that company.
At least.
Right? So if at least, right, if I'm paying you 200K, I expect 600K from you this next year. Right? So you have to know, is that possible? You have to dive into the culture, ask some questions in the interview process, find out their average contract value, what's your stuff, and see if that's actually reasonable. And it just never gravitated for me. I wasn't a big closer. I wasn't into that kind of hustle culture of slamming deals in and making money. I really had a passion from such a young age and growing up to be the leader in the room, right? Be the one that, with coaching and mentoring folks and giving back to the community, that's where I fell in love with SDRing, and just finding that I could coach and manage folks at that top of funnel function and master that one element. And that specific element of the sales process really gravitated me towards that. So yeah, definitely wasn't a money thing. It was more of what fired me up on a day-to-day. Too many people pick the money, and it's like, man, if you're not going to be excited about it, don't do it. It's okay. Go find how to make that money in places that you love doing it, right? Like, go do other things, go create other things that can make you that money, but doing what you love to do. Because I just wasn't a closer. I don't like pushing people through boxes, but now I'm a CEO. I'm closing my own business, right? But I get to close my business the way I want to, right? And I can build a relationship with folks, and I don't have the pressure of deal cycles and all these things that have to happen. I'm working on my own timeline. I'm building a relationship with folks, and that's where I like to be. So that's why that top of funnel is my favorite.
Yeah, I can relate to that a lot, although obviously our careers can't really compare apples to apples. But I've kind of transitioned into this also, like I don't want to call it CEO because it's not really a company yet, but still, I've been doing my own freelancing and pitching myself. And that has been a completely different game than when I was selling on behalf of a company where I had, targets, and as you said, it like putting people through boxes, and it's a completely different game. But I love one thing that you said earlier, and I told you I'm going to call this out, which is doing your own prospecting, like whatever the title you're carrying. I really like the reason I call people on this podcast, the reason I call SDRs and AEs to this podcast is because they're in the trenches doing the work. And there's a lot of people out there who, are sharing advice on how to do things without actually doing those things. And so I wanted to kind of respect the SDR and AE roles and have those folks on. But you're different because you're actually doing the prospecting. Again, I respect that extremely.
Hey everyone, I started SDR Hire in the first place to help as many of you as I can to land your next job, become better at sales, and just help you propel your career. So if you're finding value in this content and you know somebody who will benefit from it, please share it with them, tag them in a post, send them via text, share it wherever you share stuff with your community. As always, all of this is completely free and is here to help everyone succeed. So your recommendation goes a long way. I appreciate you, and let's get back to the show.
But I'm curious to learn, like to understand from your perspective, how different is it doing that prospecting today versus, for example, 5 or 7 years ago?
How prospecting has changed?
Well, for you, because your perspective must have changed,
Absolutely. I've become a whole new identity when it's come to prospecting. I went through a lot of growth over, my little backstory is I've been doing this almost 16 years now, all outbound for the most part, right? All the jobs I've had to source pipeline. I've had to close those deals. I've had to create something from nothing, for the most part, right? Or ideally a warm lead. But I've been in outbound my whole life. And so it's hard for me to kick that habit. But back in 07, 2010, way different way of prospecting than what we are seeing today. When I was prospecting, it was list, dialers, no warm data, everything was cold. And you were just spraying and praying is what they called it, right? You were a bazooka instead of a targeted missile, right? You were just spraying everything out. You'd rip through the dials, you'd rip through the emails and just see what you could capture and make sure you're hitting your goals. And that's how it was, right? And so taught us just the fundamentals of sink or swim kind of mentality. Most of the orgs I went to had me on the phones within 4 days, and it was just burn and turn and figure it out, right? Where now, post-COVID, obviously changed and created such a velocity in growth within the sales development, AE, prospect, seller relationship over the last 3 years, right? And so now prospecting is a lot different. Now it's quality over quantity.
Mm-hmm.
It's now more about building a relationship, seeing from a consultative perspective. SDRs have to go into these calls being the consultant, right? Being able to actually talk to somebody, get to know them, show me you know me, like Samantha McKenna references, right? Mm-hmm. And now people are being turned off by and kind of burnt out or worn out from all the old practices, right? They're just exhausted. They get it now. There's immediate cues when you call that's like, oh, this is a spam call, a sales call. And so it's gotten challenging. You've got to be on your A game now, and spray and pray isn't going to really help your org scale or even yourself as a rep, right? Just throwing it out there. Now, a lot of folks are diving into plans, strategies. You're starting to see SDRs and AEs demand more from their management, more involvement, more empathy, more coaching and development in their career. And that's all affecting the way we are prospecting, right? And so it's been a whole different ball game from what I used to do. And like some of the things that used to fly for me I'd be crucified today, right? They were like, oh my God, what? No. Because they just don't fly anymore. So it's been growth. It's been a lot of transformation. It's been a lot of understanding, communicating with buyers and sellers. Like I said, I've coached an ungodly amount of SDRs over the past 3 years, 7 years between my own teams and Rev Genius community, and now SD Lab stuff that I've been doing. That it's crazy to watch the transformation and see who's winning and not winning, right? At the prospecting game, and the ones that are getting burned. Nowadays, you know what the big change is, Stefan, is nowadays, if I burned a call or an email 10 years ago, nobody knew. Mm-hmm. Now, potentially I do that, you get blasted on LinkedIn or social media within just a few seconds, right? To where people are calling out your outreach, and you end up being one of those folks, right? That wasn't a thing when we were around. Nobody knew what you were doing. If you burned a bridge or had a bad call or this and that, nobody except your org knew. Now you've got prospects kind of, or folks being like, what is this? What are you doing? So it's changed dramatically, way different, but for the better. If I can end on a high note, I would seriously say it's for the better. I actually would love to be an SDR and start my career over now versus when I did it, just because they're more empowered, right? Yeah. There's so much tech, there's so much process, there's so much strategy, there's good leaders in place now. Like, there's some good movement happening to where, this was a great time to jump into tech sales, in my opinion, versus what I did 10, 15 years ago when it was sink or swim mentality. You just had to figure it out. There wasn't communities, resources, a lot of noise in the tech stack, right? You had a CRM, a content management system, and a phone. Go get them. Like that was it, right? Make it work with your manager when you can and go make it happen. Now you've got intent data, you've got triggers, you've got data in your CRM, you've got 5 people in the support system with you, you've got a manager working with you, that you can actually build a career now. When I was doing it, it was a job. It was just a job. There was no such thing as an SDR career or this kind of stuff. And now you look at it and like, you've probably seen it as us being SDRs and being able to be practitioners. It's easy for us to be CEOs and founders of our own companies now. You know how awesome it is that I've had an outbound motion set up for less than 10 days of starting a company because I already have done it. I've done that playbook. I've done that. I know how to build pipeline. I have those skills where most founders don't have that skill. They just know how to build products, or they have a vision and a dream, but they have no idea how to go outbound like some of us do. So like, to your listeners and these folks, it's a life skill that puts you above the bar. You can always make business.
Oh, yeah.
Like you said, it's weird now selling for yourself versus the company, but you know how to sell. You're the product now. It's awesome.
Yeah. It's so important. A few things there. Well, like it resonated with me that like you have this perspective of, looking at watching sales really develop over the past, 10, 15 years. But it's so important to have folks understand what it was like earlier and how, well, good we have it today compared to what it was, what it used to be. So, I mean, definitely something to kind of have in mind when those hard days come by. And it's hard to kind of keep on going. Like, it could be worse. I mean, in all honesty, it could be. But I like, there's so many things we could talk about, but I want to kind of keep it on track. So you've had the opportunity to work with so many SDRs, and I was tempted to ask you, like, what makes an SDR a good one? But I want to ask you, like, what is a red flag in your mind when you see a potential candidate for an SDR?
Ooh, what's the opposite? What I don't like, or what turns me off to that?
Yeah.
There's a couple things. One is obviously the attitude of the interview and discussion. If you're flat, if you're coming in super unprepared, just kind of not understanding what you're walking into, and honestly can't sell your own self in the interview, I get shaky on if I can bring you in-house, right? And you can sell what I'm doing, because you can't even handle, this interview with just you and I on a call, or, talking to one another. That, do I feel comfortable in how you'd be able to do a cold call with how that goes, right? And how people are, or a demo or a discovery. So a lot of times I'm looking at how they say things, how they present themselves, more that body language and that tonality and that confidence than what you're saying. I don't care what you're saying. I want to know, can you sell me? Can you give me that vibe that, like, we end that interview and I feel like I got to have you on the team tomorrow, right? Like, I just love Stefan. That was an incredible interview. And that's what I look for. If you come in the other side, I don't care how good of a resume you have, how good you could be, even if you were a warm referral, I don't want to do that, right? It's a headache. The other thing is somebody that isn't okay to make mistakes, or be okay with moving forward. And my favorite saying is, I'd rather ask for forgiveness than permission, right? I love people that are self-starters, that just kind of go with some guardrails. Like, I'm not giving you keys to the kingdom for you to go crazy, but I love folks that will just go out and try something, and I'd rather slap their hand after the fact than them be paralyzed to never make the move in the first place. So I ask a lot of interview questions about, when you've made a mistake, when things didn't go in your favor, and how did you respond? What was the situation like? And if you can really give me a great story without stretching it or trying to reach for something, but can really truly tell me and how you handled it, whether you, asked for advice, waited to do things, or, oh, I made this mistake because I accidentally ran too fast, right? I was crazy. I did this. This is what happened, but here's how I kind of work through that. That's easier for me, right? I'm cool with that, because when you're in the SDR role, you want those fundamentals, those things that everybody tells you all the time, the things you can't train for. Like, I'll take anybody that's inexperienced, doesn't know the world of sales development, and I will train them. I will coach them and I will teach you. I just need to know you'll do the bare minimums for me. Do the stuff that's just necessary. If you do that, I will develop you in every other angle, and I can help you, because at least you're doing the day-to-day, and we can pull different levers, and I can coach with you. So I'm also understanding, how did they start a project? What in a group when you were in high school, what role did you play on a team, project? Were you the one that would just jump? Oh, I'm the one that I always had to do everybody's homework for them, right? And they always never got it done, but I made sure it was done. That's kind of who I was. Not a great thing, but I love it, right? It's not a
Yeah.
good fit, but I know what kind of person you are, right? To where like, cool, at the end of the day, you're going to do the job, and not wait for me to, hold your hand. So I look for that. I try to dive into that. And then what's a turnoff is people that are too vague in their interview. Again, I like specifics. That shows me that you came prepared, you have an understanding of your life, it actually happened, all of that thing, right? But if you didn't do that, and you can't be that specific, like, hey, my last job, this is what I did. Here are some things that I did. But if you're like, oh yeah, last I was 110% to quota, I need to know what quota was. I need to understand, right? You need to kind of give me some specifics or these scenarios of like,
So
oh yeah,
important.
this one time, right? Like, oh, this one time in high school, I kind of did this. I know you're making it up, or you read a story on Google in preparation of the interview, and you're kind of reaching for a story, right? So that's a red flag for me too. So those are kind of some ones that triggered to me right off the bat.
Very good. Very good. Okay, so this is how we understand, okay, what not to do as SDRs. But on the other hand, what are some good things that we're supposed to do as SDRs to get to that next level? So how do SDRs stand out to make sure they get to that AE role, to get to that SDR manager or team lead role, and make sure like there is a good career progression there?
A lot of it is about being a strong number two, right? What I never learned was I was coming off to the current manager as more so potentially a threat than
Mm.
a partner, right? To where I was trying to take leadership over from their team before I was even in the role, or doing things opposite of that manager, and all these things to where it was more of friction. So again, I'm not going to get anywhere with that, right? Where instead you support and become a strong number two. Make your number one look good as hell. Do everything you can to make their job easier, right? Support them. So if you're looking to go from that SDR to team lead to team manager, support them, learn their world, show them how you can take the burden off, and master your number more than anything. Numbers
Mm.
isn't all it's about to be, right? Like people think, oh, if I excel at my numbers, I'm going to go into management. I was that guy. I thought it was all about numbers. I thought it was 200% the goal on a regular basis, and management is yours guaranteed. Like they're crazy. That's not the case. It's a lot more than that. And I had a good mentor talk to me through that, right? It's so much more beyond that. It's other things that you were doing to support that number. So what I tried to do was master my number, and then move into diving into how can I support them, take on more responsibilities, reporting, things like that. And same for the AE role, go support those folks. Start supporting and being a good number two to your AE, getting on their calls with them, making sure you're getting good notes, that you're building a strong relationship. Because when their boss comes and says, we're opening up the AE role, they're going to be like, you need to hire Tom, my SDR. I think he would kill it. I would suffer as having them as my SDR, but man, they have made my life so much easier. They are ready to close. What are we thinking about them? Now they're vouching for you. And when you go into the interview, you're already prepared. So what have you been doing the last year to prep for the AE role? Oh, well, let me show you. I've been running some deals. I'm on discovery. I've actually been working on my discovery skills weekly with my manager, right? I've been working with my AE on understanding how forecasting works and reporting. And these are the things that I've been prepping. These are my gaps moving forward that I can't wait to fix and start learning more of. But up until now, this is what I've done. And now you're being that strong person to where once that promotion comes up or that next move, it's expected, versus in the shadows at the water cooler. They're like, oh, they promoted Stefan? Like, really? Like, Stefan, I'm not really sure that would be a great move for them.
Yeah.
You want people in the water cooler when you're coming around being like, Stefan, we heard, like, I thought you were already doing that. That's awesome. You made the transition. I really thought you were already an AE, or I already thought you were the manager, but that's so great, right? We can't wait to be working with you. And it's just assumed because you've already been doing those things in preparation. You've been acting that role. You've been supporting your AE or your manager in such a way that the team sees that they just assume you're already in that motion with them.
So important. So because especially in, I think, bigger organizations, it's hard to, get the attention of the important people to yourself. And so building that relationships with people above, let's put it like that. So your AE, another AE you came across, somebody took over a deal that was supposed to be your AEs, your BDR manager, somebody above there. Like the folks upstairs are going to ask, who do we promote? And they're not going to ask you. They're not going to ask your colleagues, other people. They're going to ask the manager. They're going to ask. So that's such a good way to get noticed and get promoted as quickly as possible. Amazing. I love it.
It's an easy name, right? Like, hey,
Yeah.
Stefan, I'm looking for the next SDR manager. We're going to open that up, expand your team. Is there anybody that comes to mind for you that you think we should talk to? Oh my God, Tom, perfect example. This guy's been working with me for 6 months. We're practically already doing it. And that name comes right off the bat to where then they come and interview you and they're like, hey, Stefan was telling us a lot of what you've been doing. Talk us through that. And you're like, I've been doing reports. I've been doing this. I've been working on the team one-to-one. I do this when I hit my number. Once I hit my number, I'm calling for my peers. I'm trying to get the team up as a whole, right? All those things to where that interview is just a slam dunk from there versus you trying to justify you're ready for a role when you've done nothing for it. That they making the jump to those next roles, they need plug and plays. You got to understand that. If they're looking for an AE, they need somebody to start producing now. They're already behind. If they're looking for an SDR manager, they're already behind. So you coming into the interview and saying you haven't done anything, you haven't self-managed yourself to prep for this role or have any examples, they're looking at you like a novice and a baby. And that's going to be a red flag versus your peer, John, coming in, who's like, yo, I've been running reports with Mike on the back end. I've been working with the SDRs. I actually went outside of my company and I've been talking with some other managers on a weekly basis, right? Like show them why you should get the position and act like it. And that will help that promotion a lot faster.
Yep, totally agreed. And one more thing that I've seen some folks do, which is they clearly state at some point, hey, that's where I want to go. And I'm going to do shit that's going to get me to that point. Although, like, there's a lot of action that needs to support that statement. But if you can pull that off, I think it's more or less guaranteed.
My favorite saying is a closed mouth don't get fed.
Yeah,
right? You have to ask. And 100%, I'm sorry I didn't mention that, but like, that's something I need to hear as a leader too. I might have a plan for you, but I need to know what your plan is and make sure they align. And if you don't tell me, I'm never going to know. And maybe your other counterpart has been telling me. And so in our one-on-ones, we're doing stuff and I had no idea, right? So a closed mouth don't get fed. You want to get that AE position. You want to get that SDR manager. Within that first 3 to 4 months of you joining that squad, make it very known to your leadership where you're trying to go and almost take the burden off of them too. Tell them what you want. Hey, Stefan, I want to go to SDR manager. So in about a month, when I get my number locked in, can we start working on reporting? Where can I support you? And I'd love to start prepping for that. I'm going to do some of these things, but just wanted to put it on your radar. Now, when I get stacked with 10 reports that I have to run for RevOps, I can kick it over to Stefan in a couple of weeks and say, hey, remember how you said you wanted to get more involved? I got a few reports that I'd like you to work on real quick and get those over. This is what we have to do on a weekly basis. Why don't we jump in a room together on our one-on-one on Thursday and we can work through those. Otherwise, if I didn't know, I'm working on those reports by myself and I'm going about my business. But again, you're removing the burden off of me. We are working together. You're learning the day in the life of, and we're building that relationship and you're building with the team to where then that transition is much easier. Great point you said there. Yeah, make sure it's clear.
Love it.
Hey there, hope you're enjoying these episodes as much as I do making them. If you prefer consuming a shorter format content, I post the best snippets from the podcast on TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Instagram Reels. So feel free to choose your favorite platform and I'll see you there. On the other hand, if you just love binging longer formats, the podcast is available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Google Podcasts, and I also often post interesting sales and hiring stuff on LinkedIn. All right, back to the show.
Awesome. Awesome. So I'm very interesting. I've been waiting for this question to go, which is like, no, I mean, like, what is it that, at least in your mind, is making you successful? All of these like things that you've went through up to running DSD Labs.
I think really it's two things. One, it's detaching from outcomes. And two, it's really embracing a growth mindset. I went through hell to get to where I am today. I don't share it often, but I went through a lot of the bumps and bruises a lot of folks dealt with, right? Trying to find my place in the world of sales and just in life. But what helped me get through all of it is I appreciated every position. I understood it, told a story. It's really weird to be here today and put the pieces together of that puzzle and see how they all worked, right? Like I learned, from for-profit education, all about college, understanding the importance of an education, going to GoDaddy. I learned about website building, hosting, building out domain names, starting a business, Yelp, advertising, learning how to build a brand, what reviews meant, right? And all these different places taught me something to where now I can build SD labs with confidence, right? I can launch anything because I've went through all these little integral pieces when at the time, career wasn't the greatest move for me. All these good things happen, bad things happen there, but I was appreciative and I understood that they happened and I took something from each of them. No matter which job I took, I learned what I could take from it. No matter what happens here, what did I learn? What could I master? GoDaddy was great. I learned website hosting, great skill 10 years later in life that I understand hosting and domains and all these things. Yelp, I understand all of that, right? So in the moment, having a growth mindset, being open to everything, and understanding how to detach from those outcomes also, and not taking them personal, right? I knew, in the moment, like, I did not get management, but I could reflect and I could understand and I could take ownership and I could say, you know what, where could I work on? There's a reason this no is happening. What do I need to improve on? Where can I pull some levers? And I would take, so, all right, number one answer, I think it's accountability. That's where it comes down to. I think it just comes down to accountability. In the last 15, 16 years, I've owned my stuff and I've been okay with that. And I've owned where I've needed to grow. I've respected those opinions. I took them with grains of salt. But I think the most thing that helped me was just being accountable, always looking at where I could level up. One of my other favorite sayings is be 1% better every day. So what did you do yesterday and what could you do today that, will impact tomorrow and even 1% better? Something you could clean up, organize something, learn a skill, anything you can do, because 1% every day over 365 days is a big ass growth. You are improving. You're going to be a whole different person within just a short amount of time. And people are like, how? What in the hell are you doing? And it's like, because I'm accountable. I'm looking at areas in my life that I can own because I have to detach from everything else. I cannot control literally anything else in life except me, the main character. And yeah, does it suck that I have to take ownership of everything? Absolutely, right? Sometimes you're like, no, that was all them. But when you can just accept it and kind of look for those moments where you could have been different, it does help you for those next time and you get better and better. And that's where you find your stride. And that's why, 16 layers, I'm doing what I'm doing. So accountability, growth mindset, and detaching from that outcome would probably be the three underlining things that help me get through all of this.
I love it. It's funny. So detaching from the outcome is one of my favorite things that I learned from, Josh Brown at the time.
Josh Brown. Mm-hmm.
And it's helped me become a better salesperson as well as a business person. So it relates to me so much. But it's also funny how, it actually took 16 years of compounding all of those different skills and good experiences, bad experiences, wins and losses to get you to this point, which leads me to like a very exciting question, which is, what is SD Labs and what are you doing with it today?
Yeah. So as you saw my career, right, going from a customer service rep at GoDaddy to an AE at Yelp to now, CEO founder of SD Lab. So SD Lab, something I've been doing in the background for quite some time. It's been my idea for a couple of years. It's a consultancy and an advisory company for the outbound motion. Right. So it's an agency to where I come in and deploy a 14-week program that will help your outbound motion scale and be repeatable to where you can grow your funnel. Right. So I'm working with early stage startups, founders to help them deploy that outbound sales development motion or full engine that's collaborative within marketing, RevOps, everything they need before they potentially bring in that SDR manager and that squad. We're able to test, understand, and optimize your process, make sure there's a motion there before we just get to work. So it's really great. It's a work in progress, still ironing out everything as we're just putting it out to the market, and what I think this is like week 3. So it's quick, it's fast, but I'm very excited, right? I just want to support early stage companies to change the world of sales development, as what you're doing on this podcast, of just letting people know how awesome of a role it can be, make it a scalable motion, set folks up where they're going into companies with a really good, strong motion to make their lives easier and help them grow as an SDR and help that company scale their revenue. So it's a consultancy and advisory agency for the outbound motion. So good stuff coming out of that. I'm excited.
I love it. And you said that it's been a part of your thoughts for the past time. Like, did it develop? Was it the same idea from the beginning, or did it change over time as you kind of went through different? I know you were advising for a lot of companies. You've been with Trainio, like, hasn't shaped over time?
Absolutely. Yeah. So this idea got birthed probably in 2019, 2018 kind of time frame. I was about 10, 12 years in my career at that time. I started seeing some things that were repeatable and scalable in my life. A lot of times people don't realize they're developing a playbook as they go over companies, right? But you start developing your own playbook, your own methodology, your own process. And so it was kind of being birthed that this is what I wanted to do. I found my lane in that top of funnel function that, again, I said I fell in love with, and I wanted to set it up right. And so, yeah, it kind of had a few iterations. I actually found some old documents and decks and some things that I had on my Google Drive from like 2019 that are now being retweaked and reused. But like, it's got a couple iterations. Before I was doing a lot of trench work. I was expecting to be like going into orgs and doing the work to where now instead of being done for you, it's done with you, right? Approach. Now I'm looking at a scalable model that is, let's do it together. I am not coming in and doing all the impact for you, but I am going to consult you and advise you with this process, and I'm going to do it with you. Where before I was trying to just straight up do everything. I was going to come in, I had way big promises, and it was a lot of work. And again, upgrading my network, talking to folks in the industry, talking to buyers and sellers and understanding it, that iteration happened. So a good takeaway from that, right, is be like water in your life. Sometimes you're adamant or you think this direction is best for you, but be open to understanding if the kind of universe or the motion is pushing you a different way, right? And so that's kind of where I allowed those iterations to happen, find that perfect market fit that really fit well. And then obviously what riles my gears, right? What gets me fired up to do on a day-to-day basis. So you got to be open to water and kind of just work with it. Data, test, talk to folks. And then you kind of figure out those iterations and find that sweet spot.
Hey there. I wanted to let you in on a couple of additional resources available other than the podcast and the social media content. So I recently started a newsletter where I break down the best pieces of advice from the podcast about getting hired, how to be a top performing sales rep, into actionable nuggets that you can apply literally as soon as you read them. And in addition, if you're currently looking for an SDR role, you can fill out a form to let me know, and I'll do my best to help put you in front of tech companies hiring for SDRs. All right, back to the show.
Love it. Okay, awesome. We're going to go into the rapid fire question, which is something I stole from a bunch of other podcasts, but I think my questions kind of beat the fact that it's common. So let's see how I do.
All right,
ready?
Here we go.
Awesome. So what is the best SDR learning resource in your mind?
LinkedIn. Right. I think the best is going to the practitioners, looking at those folks sharing the stuff, podcast. I think the best resource is finding practitioners, finding folks that are actually doing the job and going through there.
That's right. And unfortunately, we haven't had a chance to chat about LinkedIn. So for everybody listening, Tom is extremely active on LinkedIn, and he's doing the shit. So make sure you follow him. Okay. So what is the best SDR skill?
Copy, messaging, being able to actually develop really clean, punchy, direct, simple statements. I think if you can write and are a writer, you have a leg up. Teachers are phenomenal at this as transferable skills because they create content for their students. They do a lot of things, and they're very clean at speaking, and they keep things at the grade level of a fifth grader. So I think the number one skill SDRs need to learn right now is how to convey a message in a cleaner, simpler way with less words and work on that messaging and copy.
Yes, sir. I love that answer. It's funny how different your answer is to compared to, let's say, other SDRs who have been on and
Hmm.
AEs compared to them. I just want to add that like, copywriting, this has been a revelation for myself as well. Um, make like being able to write good copy isn't just about writing good call scripts and writing good
Right.
email campaigns, right? It's also about writing good content for LinkedIn. It's also about
Hmm.
writing good copy for ads, for your website, for blogs. For like, it's such a repeatable skill. It's just it's invaluable.
Well, and if you're going to make the jump to manager or AE, right, you have decks, you have presentations, you have things that you're
There we
doing
go.
that, as an SDR and an early skill, if you can start tapping into that stuff, you're going to make an excellent AE in demo and discovery. You're in creating engaging experiences for your buyers. And then from an SDR manager, you're very engaging in your communication with your team. You're very clean in responses, and you're doing really good presentations that keep them engaged. So it is another life skill that I think if anybody's trying to break in right now, do that skill in the background. Practice, journal, write, do everything you can, create stuff, make mistakes, and try to figure out ways to simplify your content or your copy.
So good. So good. Okay. Best SDR creator to follow.
Ooh, best SDR creator. Gosh, there are a lot right now. Like again, 10 years ago, I couldn't have named anybody. Now I've got like a laundry list of folks that are just really doing a great job. My favorite SDR creator right now, I still think Morgan Ingram has a hold on that space. I think Morgan Ingram is still the go-to North Star on things around sales development as far as a creator. But one that's more like a practitioner would probably be Anthony Natoli, Erica Stacy, Elliot Garcia. Some of those folks are creators and they are practitioners of being in sales development, and they're doing a phenomenal job. Dorothy from Lavender, she's been doing a great job. A lot of SDRs are getting vocal on LinkedIn now and social content to build relationships with their buyers. And a few of those folks are my top. I can't give you one, but those folks
Yeah.
would be my top Mount Rushmore kind of SDRs of content right now.
Perfect. Awesome. What is your favorite SDR channel?
Cold calling.
There
Cold
we
calling.
go.
Pick
Yeah.
up the phone. Yep.
Speaking of, what is your favorite cold call opener?
Hey, Stefan, this is Tom over at SD Labs. I'll be brief. The reason for my call is that's my go-to. Helps them categorize my name, my company, and exactly what I'm calling for. So it's like, hey, Stefan, I saw on LinkedIn you were talking about your outbound motion. I talked to and blah, 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 right? And now you're able to know Tom, SD Labs, is calling about my outbound motion. I'm going to have this call or I'm not, right? So that's kind of my best opener I have.
Love it. What is your go-to call to action?
Out of curiosity, would this be of relevance for you right now or top of mind, right? Out of curiosity, is this top of mind for you?
Love it.
Just because I don't like to add call to action for book a meeting, let's take a
Yeah.
call. It's so
Same.
invasive already. And don't do it in your first or second touch in an email. Save, do give, and then do your ask, right? Way too many SDRs, our first email is like, hey, want to have a meeting? You don't know nothing yet. Hold on. Find out where I'm at in my process. See if this is something I need. And if we can communicate and talk about it, then we can determine if it makes sense to have that call. But don't come in here assuming you have the next best thing since sliced bread and I got to book a call. So my call to actions are very open-ended, value-driven. May I send you this link for a webinar? Very permission-based call to actions, I guess, to get conversation and replies more so than getting those outcomes just yet.
Sweet. Yeah. So out of curiosity, like first email in a sequence, like what would you say as a call to, like, would you even put a call to action if you, for example, didn't have a webinar or, something like that?
I always do, right? And that first email, it's like, hey, Stefan, it's Tom, right? I was reaching out, same kind of like my cold call script,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Stefan, saw your LinkedIn post recently that you made around X, Y, and Z, talking to leaders like yourself. This is what's keeping them up at night. I would love to share with you some resources. Here they are, right? Let me check these out. These are helping some of the folks I'm working with. And out of curiosity, is this something on your radar? Or out of curiosity, how are you tackling these initiatives right now? right? And so I'm giving them some gives, some free wins real quick that I've been seeing from others in the space that have been using. And then I'm using a simple call to action of, what have you been doing up until this point to address this challenge? Super easy. I'm not asking for a meeting. I'm just first seeing if this is even on point. Most of the time they're going to respond, wow, those resources were really great. Yeah, this is top of mind for us. We're actually looking at this for Q4. Now I have timeline. I've already discovered there's relevancy here, and I'm qualifying, with conversating versus, hey, let's have a meeting. I got some resources for you. You want to jump on a call? Calm down.
Exactly.
Take it easy.
Yeah. Okay. One last question. Favorite tech sales acronym?
Favorite tech sales acronym? Ooh, my favorite is WIFM. WIFM, I learned back at For-Profit Education before it was cool. What's in it for me? That was my favorite one, right? What's in it for me? Because that always lets me stay top of mind with my cold call scripts, my messaging. That's my favorite acronym to stay at top of mind.
That's perfect. Okay. We got to the end. I so appreciate you for being here and sharing all of this with the audience. I'm not going to pretend I'm pretty much overwhelmed. So this was very exciting and I enjoyed it so much. Is there something you would say before we go our ways?
No, just hit me up on LinkedIn. Go check out SD Lab if you got any of your companies looking for that support, right? Definitely make some intros. But hit me up on LinkedIn if you have any questions, want to chat. That's where I live and breathe, and happy to connect with y'all. But thanks for having me.
Love it. Love it. Thanks, man.
Thank you for tuning in to the SDR Hire podcast, the only podcast exclusively focused on SDRs, where successful salespeople share about their hiring stories and sales adventures straight from the trenches. If you found this useful, go ahead and share it with someone else you know is trying to break into tech or land their next SDR gig. You can find SDR Hire on all major podcast platforms as well as YouTube. Hit that subscribe button if you haven't already, and catch you in the next episode.